the U.S. defense community had pioneered Tesla teleportation, which is the capability to open up a vortal tunnel in time-space through which somebody can pass. And by the fall of 1970 had found a way to adjust the time of the arrival of the individual via teleportation, backward or forward in time. So I was brought in to Project Pegasus as a child participant officially in the fall of 1969. that device as a teleportation device was accidentally discovered when they constructed a model of one of the drawings that was in Nikola Tesla's papers upon his death in 1943. And it just said Tesla Energetic Array, or Energetic Array in his original documents. And they didn't know at first that it was a teleportation device, a teleporter. They set it up there in that room in Curtiss-Wright, and what I was told is that a technician walked through the energy field to retrieve a screwdriver on a workbench in the lab, and he suddenly disappeared, so that his supervisor thought he had been disintegrated by this Tesla device. 6 weeks or 6 months later, he shows up at the door of the facility, of that very lab, and his supervisor collapses, literally collapses, believing that he's come back from the dead, or grateful that he didn't die in the development of this Tesla device, the construction of this Tesla device. And then he told the tale of how he fell through a tunnel, apparently in the time-space continuum, and popped out in Africa, where he was virtually deified by the local tribe that he had teleported to, until he explained that, no, I'm just an ordinary human being. He tried to communicate to them that in a way in which they would take him to the national government, he would be able to get home, and he did. And it was either 6 weeks or 6 months. I think it was 6 weeks. But that's in fact the story we were told in our training. So they realized that this Tesla device, in Tesla's original papers, that had actually been seized by the War Department, kept in the National Archives under the Alien Property Act in '44, and then forwarded to Los Alamos when the Manhattan Project physicists began gathering there to build the atomic bomb. They thought, well, let's send Tesla's paperwork to the physicists in the world who can make the most sense of them. So ultimately they were sent to Los Alamos when the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory was being started to build the atomic bomb, and that's where they remain to this day. Project Pegasus, quote-unquote, owed its greatest debt of gratitude to Nikola Tesla. We did use some reverse engineering from downed extraterrestrial craft. We were given some technology by the ET groups that we were in liaison with during these years, but there's no question that time travel is the accomplishment of our species in this planetary context. It wasn't all reverse engineering. In the front of the room were two gray parenthesis-shaped objects that look sort of just like if you put your fingers on like this, sort of like, closing parentheses. They were built into their bases, kind of like high-end stereo speakers, and they were about 8 feet high and about 10 feet apart on the floor of the lab there. And on the left boom, there was a technician sitting at a video console with a keyboard. And on the right side, the boom was plugged into a power outlet on the wall that was about the size of the power you would need to power a small-sized industrial piece of equipment, like an industrial lathe or drill press. And my dad had the technician turn on the device. And what I saw was essentially energy that was radiating between the two booms of the device, like water falling in a public sculpture. And then my dad had me go up towards the device, and it looked like raster on a TV set. And there were little squiggles at 3-inch intervals coming out of portals of light, sort of light lime green portals of light. So there were these bluish green squiggles that were swimming
It was October 1943. The United States government authorized an experiment that would render its ships undetectable by radar. The experiment took place on a ship in Philadelphia Harbor.
Generators activated, sir.
For 41 years, the government denied it ever happened.
I don't believe this.
The Eldridge has vanished.
Of course she has. She's radar invisible.
No, sir. She's really vanished.
But one ship did disappear, and two of the crew suddenly find themselves in the present.
Maybe all this isn't real.
You're telling me this is my imagination? You think the Navy knows what they're doing? You saw the guys on the boat. This wasn't supposed to happen, Jimmy.
Jimmy, whatever it is, it's after us!
Michael Pare.
Somehow we got moved in time. This time, it's not ours. 1943 was yesterday for me.
Nancy Allen.
What sort of experiment is it? Is it some kind of secret thing? Is that it?
Well, all that stuff I told the doctors back there, you know, about time in 1943, do you believe it?
I believe that you believe it.
And Bobby DiCicco.
Don't leave me, Davey. Can't go through this again.
The Philadelphia experiment. They opened a hole in time, and it stayed open.
Good God, there it is.
Now, the government needs the one man who can stop the experiment.
Look out! I keep getting negative pressure. It keeps going down. It's impossible.
No, it's pulling the air in. Pulling everything in.
Now, we can't stop it, but I believe that you can.
He's lying, David.
I wish to God I were.
I gotta go.
Now, look, communication ceases when you enter the vortex. We won't be able to help you.
A Philadelphia experiment.
The letter claims that 12 years previously, at the height of World War II, the Navy had conducted several radical experiments in Philadelphia aboard a destroyer, the USS Eldridge, that made it simply vanish into thin air. During one trial, the ship rematerialized 200 miles away in Norfolk, Virginia, before disappearing again and reappearing once more in Philadelphia. The letter attributes the technology that made the ship invisible to Albert Einstein, saying the great genius had secretly developed a single unified theory to tie together all of the laws of physics.
A unified field theory combines the equations that govern the interaction of matter with itself and with light, and with both of those with gravity. The idea is, if we can come up with this elegant set of equations that explains the way the universe works, perhaps we can do something with those. Bend light, change the nature of space-time, teleport, render things invisible.
Einstein himself said he was working on this theory, but never cracked it. According to the letter's author, he secretly had. And at the height of World War II, the Navy used his idea to bend light and make a warship invisible.
How we see an object is that the light illuminates it. The laser illuminates our model ship. You can see it. You can see the green flashing off of it. However, the idea of using unified field theory is that you could then redirect this light so that it no longer passes across the object, but just goes around it.
All right, people. Safety positions. Fire it up.
They restarted the program with the Department of Defense. They tried to recruit me.
24 Teslas. So you faked your own death?
They're not the kind of people you want to say no to.
32 Teslas and climbing.
I hope you know what you're doing.
Abracadabra. There is a World War II destroyer on the runway.
USS Eldridge.
The Eldridge is back.
Deck 3 to bridge. Anyone there?
The asset's ID to survivor.
William Gardner, chief technician on Salinger's team. If he's alive, we need him here.
Energy spike, here it comes.
He's gonna jump. I think there's a survivor. Molly, I'm gonna have to call you back.
What? Carl, wait.
When I couldn't bring you back, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake.
I want these people brought in. Now. In the best and only way I know.
Where's Bill Gardner?
He's got a big problem. Go! Go! We altered the timeline. We have to fix it.
You're the only one who can shut it down.
Here we go.
You got nowhere to go!
As long as that includes you.
40 Teslas, hold on here.
is a spherical, spacious planetary body with enormous, continent-sized caverns deep within it, and large entrances miles across at the North and South Poles. They say inner Earth has water, oceans, and luminosity, and that it sustains not only plants and animals, but intelligent life. No planes or satellites are permitted to come within a certain distance of the poles. In November 1968, a satellite photo of the North Pole was released. It showed a large polar opening in absence of cloud cover. But satellite images since then, showing serious anomalies, do raise questions, particularly the one from Russian space station Mir in 1987, showing light emanating in a very mysterious fashion. This energetic flow, the torus, is a self-organizing system in nature where energy expands and returns to itself. We see it every day in an orange, a whirlpool, a tornado. It's in the atom, the galaxy. None of these is a dense system. In all legends, these civilizations tell of two beings, very tall giants or very advanced reptilian races. Strangely, flying airships have remained a consistent part of all Inner Earth stories, every one of them. In Africa, a similar tunnel was believed to connect the secret chambers at the base of the Pyramid of Giza with the subterranean world, by which the pharaohs established contact with the gods of the underworld. Ancient Egyptian deities like Ra, Thoth, Anubis had qualities unlike humans: unique height, skin coloring, eyes, often avian or bird-like heads. The children of Woolpit. Reapers in the area one day discovered two small children who had skin with a pale green hue and who spoke an unknown language. And though starving, ate only raw beans. The boy soon died, but after many years in acclimation, the surviving girl finally explained that she and her brother had come from a subterranean land where the sun never shone, and where the light was more like twilight, saying they'd become lost when they followed their cattle into a cave, eventually emerging onto the bright landscape. Willis George Emerson tells the story of Olaf Jensen's incredible journey to Agartha and the 2 years he spent living there with his father. Jensen and his father were traveling in their small fishing boat in an attempt to find the land beyond the north wind when a windstorm carried them through a polar opening into the interior of the earth. There, they met who he called the Elder Race, friendly, intelligent, lanky, 12-foot giants. He said later they were able to grow tall in this unique electrical energy field that was always there inside the earth, and that these giants were able to live up to 800 years. Jensen described the inner world as warm, where it rained once a day and was filled with highly charged electrical air. There's a density to the atmosphere, he said. The ancient Makushi Indian, they're said to be the guardians of an entrance to inner Earth, and they describe the journey and the beings in vivid detail. They say for 15 days you must traverse through caverns until balls of bright light and glowing discs appear inside the earth. There, a civilization of very tall beings, 12 to 15 feet, live inside a lush ecosystem of vegetation. The Nazis. Hitler ordered a team of researchers to find an inner Earth opening in Antarctica. Later, a German U-boat, commanded by Heinrich Broden, claimed that they had reached the interior of the Earth, and even stated that they didn't want to come back, adding, "The Earth is, in fact, hollow." Then there's the disturbing part of this legend, that Hitler and many of his minions escaped Germany in the closing days of World War II and fled to Antarctica, where they escaped into the Earth's interior. For it was after the war the Allies discovered that more than 2,000 scientists from Germany and Italy, along with almost 1 million people, had vanished. According to the Hollow Earth Research Society in Canada, this entire culture still resides there. Admiral Richard Byrd, Jr., who led numerous expeditions to both poles and wrote detailed logs about his journeys. In this document, he gives vivid details about his expedition to the North Pole in 1947. Byrd then continued to unveil a picture that we had not imagined in this diary. He said that he traveled 1,700 miles on this journey, and he was so surprised when ice below gave way to lush green forests, lakes, rivers, and mountains. He saw animal life, and to his dismay, realized he was looking at a large mammoth that resembled those now extinct. He noted that everything had unique and inexplicable color, and suddenly he realized in shock that there were some kind of space vehicles flying beside him. They escorted him, and he saw an entire city and was safely landed despite the fact he had no control over his plane. Once there, he was graciously greeted by civilians, and they called this place Agartha. Byrd's dismay upon arrival is clear. He and his crew were then taken to meet what they were told was the ruler of Agartha, the Master, whom he described as delicate and ancient. They were told they'd been allowed to enter, despite these invisible barriers, because of his high moral and ethical character. The ruler went on to say that ever since the U.S. had dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, their race had been very concerned for human safety and the survival of the planet. When they intervened, however, their craft had been attacked by our militaries, and Byrd was asked to share this message and warning to civilization. Their hosts then guided them to their plane and back to the outer world. Byrd said he briefed the Pentagon of his message from the Master, was interviewed intently by top security forces and a medical team, and ordered to remain silent in regard to all that he learned. He concluded, "I'm reminded that I am a military man and I must obey orders." 10 years later, he wrote a final entry. "These last few years elapsed since 1947 have not been kind. I must state that I have faithfully kept this matter secret as directed all these years. It's been completely against my values of moral right. Now, I seem to sense the long night coming on, and this secret will not die with me. For I have seen that land beyond the pole, that center of the great unknown." DK confirmed that Byrd did indeed travel to Inner Earth as he claimed, that there's a sun there, but not like our outer sun. He said that the aurora borealis was not caused by this, but by a different light source, and that the openings of the poles were very wide and ships and planes could fly into it. However, a yet unknown energy field will camouflage it and naturally protect it. He confirmed that there were entrances to the Inner Earth in Egypt, Tibet, and the Yucatan, and also added that there were other entrances in the Bermuda Triangle, the Soviet Union, and Africa. He said that there were different races in the Inner Earth, just like on the surface, and some of them quite tall. He also confirmed the U.S. government and other countries are aware of the Inner Earth and are covering up the fact as they are the UFOs and extraterrestrials. Finally, the most notable whistleblower of the secret space program, Corey Goode, has given consistent and extensive details on Inner Earth. Among his claims are that there is a huge population currently living in Antarctica, that the United States is not the only nation that's created underground bases that are inhabited by thousands of people. Corey Goode has shared that the Mayans were not defeated, but in fact retreated to the Inner Earth. He claims that the Mayans have crafts which appear to be rock, but they look like long cigars, cylindrical in shape. Goode's description of the Mayan craft are not unlike this one, which entered our solar system from a distant galaxy not long ago, and has since been recorded as speeding up. He also notes that there are many people channeling what they believe are Pleiadians, but those are in fact Inner Earth beings protecting their location by claiming to be off the planet. Goode also said that disclosure will be an earth-shattering event, but a necessary one.